everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. All right, just a very quick check-in, fortnightly check-in to see how things are going. You might be wondering if I've finished my stay at Ishmu because I'm doing this episode, and the answer is no, but I'm using that loophole again because at the moment I'm on transitional leave. So what does transitional leave mean? Well, the idea behind it is that, you know, you can get very used to the ways of the psych ward, you know. You get your meals prepared for you. It's the same time every day. You go to bed at the same time. You wake up at the same time. You know, there's a lot of these routines that are locked in, and they're locked in without me, for example, you know, doing much about it because I'm just sort of following the lead of the nurses and finding it really easy to sort of lock into these routines because they're already sort of there. I don't have to do much. It's all in front of me. It's easy. But going back, transitioning or transferring back into the real world, you know, I don't have that luxury. And unfortunately, this transitional leave has already shown me that my ability to lock into the routines and habits that I've learnt at Ishmu and transfer them across here to the real world has not gone successful. So last night, I'm on 3 days of transitional leave, 2 nights. So last night I stayed here at home and got up this morning. The first problem was I got up at 9:15 instead of 7:55. So straight away I'm on the back foot and I've got the shits. And then I go out and think, all right, well, I'll go get breakfast. Oh, that's right. You know, there's no breakfast here because I haven't been here for weeks. And, you know, it's there's no cereal for me. So instead of having my cereal and crumpets and whatever else, you know, an apple that I have every morning at Ishmu, which is a great way to start the day, instead I went to McDonald's and got hotcakes. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed the hotcakes, but I feel so guilty, so guilty, because I know going to McDonald's and eating hotcakes is not what we're after. Not at all, and it's a symptom, it's evidence that I'm not transferring the routines and habits very well from Ishmu into the real world, and that's a bit of a worry, and as a result, my anxiety today has been pretty high. So you can see how all these things are sort of connected. You know, all it takes was me getting up late this morning and then just the negative spiral just continued. I'm hoping this episode will sort of bring me back out again. But man, I did an episode a while ago on needing early wins, and it's the same sort of principle applies here. I needed the early win of getting up at 7:55 to sort of set my day off on the right foot. And unfortunately, because I didn't do that, I didn't get that early win. I've felt like I've been losing all day, and it's not a good feeling, and it's making me very anxious because I don't want to think of the idea that the 6 weeks at Ishmu were a waste of time, and once I get back out, you know, it goes back to what it was. That is not what, oh, God, I hope that doesn't happen. But it will happen if I'm not smart, so I need to be smart, and I need to think of these things. I need to write things down more. I'm trying to take a notepad with me when I go do things because my short-term memory, my working memory is so poor at the moment, so poor. And for example, this episode yesterday when I was driving from Ishmu back to my place, I had this great sort of, you know, framework for today's episode. It was great. The problem is I don't forget anything. I don't remember anything that was a part of that framework because I don't know. I'm just not able to remember details very well at the moment, which is a bit of a concern. But anyway, it is what it is. So I've got to be smart, you know. I've got to be smart and write this stuff down, and then it's all there. But I didn't do that yesterday, and as a result, I'm also annoyed about that and the fact that I don't have that great structure for this episode here today. I think I'm talking mostly about what I would have thought about anyway, but still, you know, it's not so much the fact that I don't have the script, you could say, to sort of talk from. It's more about the fact that it's another habit that I haven't done, which I know I should be doing, and I feel guilty because of it. And then that anxiety is there as well, as it always is. So, yeah, so I'm on transitional leave, 3 days. And then I go back for, I don't know, is it 4 days, and then I'm discharged on the 28th. Today's the 22nd, so discharged on the 28th. And I'll tell you, there's going to be a lot of episodes coming because I've got a lot to say. As normal, I've got lots of things to talk about, and I want to share it all with you guys. Although, I wasn't at Ishmu for podcast material, but at the same time, there is plenty of podcast material from my stay at Ishmu. So, I'm going to draw upon some of those stories and memories and things that happened and try and relate it to psychology and mental health in general. And we'll go from there. And I really want to give you some insight, which I haven't done yet. And I wanted to do this a while ago, probably even when I was at Maitland Private Hospital. I want to sort of, go through what a typical day is like in one of these psychiatric wards. So I'm going to do that. That might even be the first episode I do once I'm discharged, because I think, the insights that can be found and understood from such, my events, or the event of me being at Ishmu, there's some great insight there if I'm able to convey a message that tells you what it's like, day to day, what the go is. And I think it's important too, not because I was talking to someone yesterday about the fact that she believed that she needed to go to a psychiatric ward, but was a bit worried about the whole process, and because it's a massive step, massive. And so, I said to her, so I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do an episode on what it's actually like, and then hopefully that might, calm some of the anxiety around going if required, and then make that process a bit easier, because a lot of people. And I thought this too, you think of a psychiatric ward and you think of the old mental asylums where people are in straitjackets and in padded rooms and all that sort of stuff, frontal lobotomies and just, everyone's zombified walking around. The majority of that is not true. That's not what psychiatric wards are like anymore. So I think, I'm going to try and tell you a bit of a story around that, and I think it'll be really insightful, and I'm pretty keen to get stuck into it. So, but what I really need to do is not worry about that. I need to worry about getting breakfast for tomorrow, and I need to worry about getting lunch, which I should be having in about 10 minutes' time. These are the things that I need to be occupied with. It's not, I can't lose my focus. I don't want the 6 weeks to have been for nothing, because when I was at Ishmu the first time, it was very different. It was... Look, I don't want to sound too dramatic, but it was more life or death, you could say. And it was serious. I went there and I was in a very, very bad way. My mood, my depression, the depressive episode that I'd been in was really taking hold, and I needed some big intervention to sort of turn that around, and that's what Ishmu did. The only problem is once I left, I went back to my old habits and sort of routines, or lack of routines. And that's why I'm there again now, going for a tune-up. The great news is I don't have a mood disorder at the moment. There is no depression. I'm extremely anxious, still extremely anxious. But by the same token, I wouldn't say I'm depressed, which is great. So it's been a different experience. It's been probably more enjoyable just because I've had the ability to enjoy things, which is pretty cool, which I didn't really have the first time. So it's been good, but I need to make sure that I don't, like I said, I keep repeating it, but I'm repeating it for me because I need to make sure it's stuck in my head that I need to do the habits and routines. Come on, Elliot, get with it. The idea is that we're building a life worth living. Like, that is huge. It's the ultimate prize. Like, there's plenty of motivation there to do these things. For some reason, I just have this block. Part of it's anxiety, but I also think part of it is that I'm not focusing enough on the things that I should be doing, and I'm focusing on maybe the big picture stuff, the big exciting things that I want to do down the track. When I've got money, I want to go on an African holiday, which I do. I want to go so bad. I want to see the lions so bad. My autism is craving it. Anyway, I really want to go on holiday and get a new job and do all this sort of stuff. And it's like, whoa, hang on. How about we just get out of bed at the right time and have breakfast ready to go? That would be a good start. Get those micro routines locked in, and then we can think about the bigger picture sort of stuff. You don't want to not think about the big picture, because you've got to have something to aim at. But at the same time, you've got to acknowledge, where you are on that process, how far along the process that you are. And for me, I'm still sort of stuck at the start. So I don't want to, completely ignore what I'm aiming for, but at the same time, there's this sort of balancing act, and there's only so much energy that I've got, and I need to be diverting that energy towards these micro routines, because that's where I'm situated on the process ladder, the spectrum. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. All right, well, that's probably it for now. There's plenty coming. Thank you to everybody who's been listening, because it's been really hard the last 6 weeks to not do episodes, because, man, there's been so much material. It kills me. But I've written a lot of that stuff down, thankfully, which is good. So those episodes will be coming, I hope, thick and fast. But thank you to everyone that's been listening, because every time, I've said this before, every time I get a stream, I get a hit of dopamine, which is amazing. So that's really been really helpful. For some of those moments when it's been a bit harder, I'm thinking, why am I doing all this? What's the point? And then, I look at messages I get and feedback, giving, wishing me luck and sending, positive vibes my way and hope and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is the real stuff, this is humanity right here. Let's get stuck into it. So that's sort of what I've been trying to do. So plenty of episodes coming soon, but thank you to everyone who's listened and supported, even though I haven't really been able to do many episodes and update people on how things are going. All right, if you want to reach out, you can do so to me. That is the best way to do that is on Instagram at elliot.t.waters. Other than that, if you're enjoying the show, feel free to like, subscribe, give us a great rating, and share it around with your mates. And as I said, you can follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters. All right, thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next time here on the Dysregulated podcast.